I think we should get started and not waste a minute. We have audience here already. And hello, everybody. My name is Smita Shetty Kapoor, and I am the CEO and co-founder at KelpHR. We do this monthly webinar on various topics. And today's topic, as you see, is navigating conflicts with understanding and grace. When I heard this topic, I said, I think everybody on everyday basis just needs this, right? And recently, actually, in my interaction, there was somebody whom we met, with whom we had conflict, and the way this person dealt with so much of grace that we accepted whatever this person wanted us to do. So me and my husband, actually, it was a personal conversation. Me and my husband were discussing about the humility, the grace that he brought into the conversation. I thought it needs a lot of practice. I mean, it just doesn't come very naturally to many of us, right? So what better than getting an expert to come and speak? And here we have Dr. Srividya. She's going to help us through this webinar. She's an accomplished applied psychologist with nearly 2 decades of experience in consulting, coaching, and education. She earned her psychology doctorate from Delhi University in 2010 and was a performer during her undergraduate years in mid-90s. She has contributed her expertise to various prestigious organizations like NIIT, PwC, RANBAXY, as well as universities such as Delhi University, MIT University, and James Cook University in Singapore. As a founder of LifeVidya, she passionately helps students and professionals find career clarity using psychological tools and counseling. With a track record of supporting over 1,000 individuals, her impact is substantial. So she's also an author, and I have some soft corner for authors, helping our teens. So the name of the book is Helping Our Teens Land on Their Feet. And trust me, as a parent and as a teen parent, I'm sure that must be something that everybody would want to have it in their library. It offers valuable insights into career dilemmas for teens and parents. You can find her book on the link, and we can paste that link for you. Furthermore, she contributes to Wiki Uttar Pradesh Coaching Council, focusing on coaching and training projects, particularly for youth and women entrepreneurs through initiatives like Girl Up. I hope I pronounced that correctly, Doctor, and I invite you without taking too much of your time, because all ears, all eyes are on you.
Thank you, Smita, and thanks to everyone in KelpHR. And it's amazing to see all of you here, So good afternoon, good evening, and very nice to see all of you here. And I'm heartened, and it's with a lot of humility that I'm going to try and talk about a topic that has baffled me all my life, continues to baffle me. And I know that, conflict is just something that is inherent in everyday living. And the more we learn to understand who we are, what we are, how we respond to different situations, the easier it will be for all of us to get started. So I can keep talking, but basically I'm a person who has seen a lot of conflict at work. Personally, I have 1 tween and 1 teenager. So yes, a lot of conflict. And whether it's friends or it's professionals or it's promotions or it's managing team dynamics who are choosing careers and the parent-teen conflict, it just goes on. And I'm not the person who can say I have it all right, but I'm just the person who's thought through it and done my own reflection and journey. And what I share today is really that. And what I hope each of you take is your own piece of reflection and just use what I'm sharing as the foundation or the mirror for you to start reflecting. Because each of you are in individual situations that are very specific and unique to you. And any prescription doesn't work unless one understands the uniqueness of who you are. So I want you to really, really understand that each of us is different. Each of us is in unique situations, professionally, personally, otherwise also. And conflicts are just inherent, it's just a way in which we grow. We see something, we understand, this is not working for me, and this becomes my opportunity to grow. And I've learned that when I see it as that, then I'm able to approach it very differently. So let me just share a little bit. And of course, I'll talk for some time and I will request for some inputs once in a while. And then we'll move into a Q&A mode. Yeah. So, okay. Now, this is a classic. This is something that I always feel helps me whenever I'm in conflict. This is something that many of you would be very familiar with. The story of the 6 blind men. And I realized that so many times we are one of these blind men or women. And you have this person who's on the side of the elephant, who's touching the body. And if you were to ask him, what are you touching? He would say, I'm probably touching a wall. And if you ask the person who's pulling at the tail of the elephant, what are you touching? What do you think you are touching? And he'll say, I think it feels like a rope. And the person who's hugging the leg of the elephant will say, wow, this feels like a really solid tree. And the one who's with the trunk might say it's a snake or something similar. Similarly for the tusk and similarly for the ears, each one of them is touching the same elephant. But they're all located in different places. And based on what they can see, what they can feel, what they can experience, and where they are at that point in time, they will tell you what they can see. And if you ask them now, what did you see? Come with one answer, one correct answer. And you'll have each one of them saying, it was a snake, it was a rope, it was a wall. What are you talking? And this is the foundation of all conflict. Conflict appears very often when you're talking of why does conflict happen between two people, between two individuals, between two colleagues, between neighbors. It doesn't matter. Usually, we see things from our perspective, and our perspective is limited by who we are, what we've learned, what we've experienced, who we had a fight with just some time back, who was nice to us, and hence we have a pleasant memory. And maybe some of you remind that person of that, and hence they are nice to you and nasty to others. So we always, and this is part of psychology, right? Our brain cannot process so much. We do need a perspective. And where we see, and what we see is colored by our own lens. So one person sees things from their perspective. This perspective is based on our own understanding and experiences. The other person sees something else and they're like, what are you talking? This is what I can see. Pretty much like the 6 blind men. And you're like, oh no, are you crazy? And we can keep playing. Try playing it on any of the conflicts that you have faced in the past and maybe come to realize that there was one more perspective. And you'll see we are like the 6 blind men every day, 24/7, whenever we are dealing with a conflict. The truth is beyond us. Our perspective is limited. We have to accept that with a lot of humility. And it doesn't matter how much gray hair, how many coaching sessions we've done. There is limitations because we are human. And the truth is the other person's perspective is also limited. So when these two forces come together, and the wider the difference in the two perspectives, the greater the conflict. Very simply put, that's why conflicts occur. And if you have two people with very wide different experiences, values, beliefs, that's why we say, where did you grow up? What were the values that were ingrained? What are your key learning experiences? What are your victories? All of this determines our lens. And if that's very different from somebody else, conflict. 100% conflict. And especially if you are put in the same room, in the same work organization, in the same house, trying to grapple for the same set of resources, wow, you have like a big oven which is heating up. So this is the thing about conflict. And I love what Smita said in the beginning about her own experience with somebody who dealt with conflict. And she said, I just love the way they did something with humility and asked, and then took us towards a solution. Yeah, I can hear some disturbance. Can you hear me? Do you need me to change any setting?
No, we can hear you.
Yeah, all good? Okay, thank you. Thank you so much. Okay, so essentially, the more we can understand that, okay, this is where I come from. This is who I am. These are my values. This is what I really like. This is what I really don't like. And that person may be very different from me. So it's not a personal thing at all. When conflicts become completely difficult to manage is when we start personalizing the conflict. So if we can see ourselves as this bundle of experiences, bundle of education, bundle of values and beliefs who are in one space and can see a certain landscape in front of us. And that person is on the other side of the mountain seeing the other landscape. So then their view is very different from ours. And that's the only thing we need to first understand. So essentially, to cut a long story short, and I can go on for 1 hour, but the main point is conflicts come because each of us has limited perspective. We are human. We learn only from our background. And I'll give you a very quick example. This was, I think, over 10 years back. I was in a different country and I was teaching in one of the universities there. And I don't know why this certain faculty took a real dislike towards me. And from day one, anything, any document I submitted, any lecture I took, I found that there was a lot of resistance and a lot of criticism. And I couldn't fix it, but I just kept doing my work. Then a year and a half later, I was leaving and they invited, we had lunch together. And this lady, she passingly told me that, she had been in a university wherein a lot of her students, when she was doing her PhD, were from the same community, Tamilian, Brahmin community, and she was staying, and I don't really identify with that community like that because I've been in the metropolitan all the time. And she said that I was treated very badly by that bunch of students while I was doing my PhD. So when you joined as one of the co-faculties doing this course, I just couldn't take it. And then I understood where she was coming from. But it had been over a year and a half, and anyway, we had worked, and she had kind of sorted down and settled down and learned to decide that I am not that person. And where did she come from? She came from her previous experience. So if at that point in time, I'm able to discern that, okay, she is reacting, but she's not reacting to me. She's reacting to something that is in her past experience. Then the conflict doesn't escalate. How many of you feel that makes sense to you? I would just like to pause because I've been droning on for about 10 minutes now. Just show me some quick reactions. Anything. And I can't see, so can somebody help me decipher that? Yeah, I have something on the chat. Yeah, that's true, past judgments. Thank you, Madhvi. Okay, great. So we have our past judgments, we have our perspectives. So what do we do? See, we can't change who we are. We can't change our genetic map, our height. People might have issues with a lot of things, how we look. So what do? We need to really understand a lot more. So the first thing I'd like you to all do, and if you can, just pick up a paper and pen and start writing. Start understanding the conflicting situations in your life. Who do you often have conflicts with? Who are they? Are they clients? Are they customers? Are they colleagues? This lady is having a tough time with her kids. She's trying to work. She's also trying to set up something on her phone. Both the kids have this yearning expression of please. And you can see that she's really, really annoyed. How many of us can relate to this? As a mom, I relate to this. I relate to this situation wherein there is always a conflicting demand on my time also. And the truth is we are always negotiating with spouse. Yeah, house on fire, newlyweds or people who are heavily into marriages. Age sometimes doesn't have much to do with it. It is the humility and the maturity that the relationship brings. Friends, parents, kids, who do you have conflicts with often? Just note that down. You can put it in your chat so we can engage a little bit if you feel like it. It's entirely up to you. This whole session is for you. And then think about the characteristics of this person or this relationship. Yes, we have something, sometimes with our own self, some trait of ours. Beautiful, Madhvi. Yes, we'll come to that. Sometimes it's our own inner conflict. Yes, colleagues and neighbors. Thank you. Thank you for that. Yeah, with neighbors very often. Parking, colleagues very often. Scarcity of resources, right? And sometimes for promotions. Those meetings wherein you're trying to discuss who's getting how many team members, who's getting the next promotion. Very, very, very tense discussions. So here we are. Very often, who do you have conflicts with? Just note that down for yourself and let's proceed a little further. Let's go on and see, when are you in conflict? We have a few more comments on the chat box. Conflicts with self, absolutely. Colleagues and neighbors, yeah, you got it all, right? We have conflicts with anybody around us, spouse to children to neighbors to close relatives. Great. Lack of mental and physical strength. Wow. And we land up with a conflicted free. Beautiful, beautiful. So when are you in conflict has a lot to do with the situation you're in. Which are the situations that you find conflicting? I mean, there was a time when I had to drive and park inside a place to work. And every time, that parking place is a mess. Or even now, if I have to go to a mall, 5 minutes before we reach that parking place, I'm like, oh no. Because you see, I'm dreading all that maneuvering, all that towing in and out and people trying to take your place. Because past experience has taught you parking on a weekend in a mall is a dreadful experience. Similarly, experience might teach us that negotiating or telling our help to do something extra on a day may not always go down well. We may have other challenges. We may be driving and we may find that somebody is constantly trying to overtake or honking behind when they know that there is traffic in front of us. So traffic very often creates a lot of anger and a lot of frustration in people. So which are the situations when you find yourself in conflict? Who are the people? We did that before. So is there any one person? One is, of course, a relationship. I'm sure you've zeroed it down by now, because we all know there are those 1 or 2 people who trigger us, and they trigger us really badly. And what is the time of the day? I think we had Madhavi saying that when we are tired and we don't have the emotional stamina, she didn't use those exact words, but that's what I recollect. There's a certain time of the day when we are like, okay, my battery is really down. Now, if anybody comes and asks me anything, I'm going to snap. Know yourself. Smita says household early in the morning. Yes, Smita, I so agree with you, household help. And you know why? So here it is. It's a situation, it's a person, and it's a time of the day. And why? Because she's probably in a hurry to finish everything off and get on with her day because she needs to get to work and a lot needs to get done. Scarcity of time, in a hurry, and there is a full day of work to do. And we are reliant on our household help. Everyday situation, and if you ask them sometimes to do something, they may not do it, and you know that that's going to spiral. It's going to spiral into your lunchbox and your evening chai also. That's how it is, right? So what do we do when we have a bad day or bad health condition? Thank you, Shraddha. Yes, if we have a headache or anything is hurting even slightly, you know that this is going to be a difficult situation. So just know these about yourself, huh? If you are in a situation which you know is going to trigger you, so for the Smithas and myself, I spent like 5 minutes literally visualizing a peaceful interaction with people whom I know is going to be tough. That 5 minutes helps. And if I know that by a certain time of the day, my battery is down, I don't schedule difficult conversations then. And if they crop up, I wait till I'm in a better space to do it, if I have the luxury. Mostly we have the luxury, by the way, but we've snapped. By then we've snapped. And of course, in a conflict, what should I do? Should I stay back and work harder? Or should I return home? Should I work or should I attend to my kids? Should I study further or should I continue with this job? Should I quit this job or should I join something else? Should I tell my boss something? It just goes on. Brain is buzzing, heart is buzzing all the time. A lot of energy. A lot of energy just goes in. So for all of you here, if you've identified which time of the day you're most triggered, if there's any specific conflict that disturbs you more, any person or situation, you have it at least clearly identified. See, for me, I noticed that if I'm aware that this is going to cause possible harm, then I work with awareness. And I'm just trying to pass on that tip to you by asking you these very simple questions, but questions that we sometimes don't reflect on. We just take it for granted. Ki, okay, help hai. If there's a help, then of course there will be conflict. It's not always necessary. Yeah? Are we good? Shall we proceed? If it's all good, then just type in the chat box, good to go, or whatever, G to G. Okay. Yeah, great. Thank you, Madhvi. Okay. Now you must be thinking, thank you, Smita. Great. Thank you for this. So you must be thinking, oh, this lady, she's just going to ask us to think, but it's not about me. The conflict is about that person, that situation, that helper, that neighbor. Yes, yes. But are they in this room, in this Zoom room with me? No. Who is with me today? You. So who can I possibly even help? Only you. And if you can reflect a little bit and take back a little small thing, then your interaction with that person will change. And hence that person will possibly be less conflicting to you. So for those of you who feel, oh, she's put in so many self-reflections, this is what has helped me in all conflict, to just silence, distance, reflect, silence, distance, reflect, rewind, repeat, and then take charge. So here are some more. How often? Very important. If we find that we are fighting or in a conflict 3 or 4 times in a day, we're either very stressed or we're trying to do too much, or there's something very important that we are ignoring and it's trying to surface. there's just anger inside us. So we are like this time bomb. Then it's not the other person. There is something very deep within that we need to address first. And we have people who get angry at the smallest things. You go to restaurants, you have people who will kind of start getting angry if their order is slightly late or something's been mixed up, or if the queue is not moving in the shopping mall. Why are they like that? Because there's something inside disturbing them. So think, is there something inside? If you're doing it too often, then very important for you to self-reflect. And then, just label yourself. Who am I? Am I easy to provoke? Anybody can just come and trigger me and I'll be exploding and my day is gone. Am I the eternal Buddha? Kuch bhi. Anybody says anything and I have the humility to absorb, to say the right things and to have this calm and this poise. Sounds so beautiful, no? The eternal Buddha. Very difficult. Or are we somewhere in between? Where are you? On some days, you may be easy to provoke. On some days, you may be eternal Buddhas. Then go back. What happens when you're an eternal Buddha? How is that day different? What did you do different? Can you make more of those changes in your life? On days when you got provoked more, what happened? Think. Because each of you has a routine or a lack of routine, whatever, but you have a day and you have work and you're all busy professionals. And you're here because you want to reduce the energy, the time, and all the emotional load of a conflict. That's why you're here. And the answers lie within you. Each of these questions will direct you towards those answers. And most of us, we'll all lie somewhere in between. Sometimes I'm an eternal Buddha, but then I have to prepare myself. So my perfect routine is if I've gotten up early morning, had a nice cup of coffee, had some time journaling, taken a walk, exercised, done my morning breakfast and everything, then sat down to work, which means I've had a morning in which I have refreshed, recharged, journaled, cleared clutter from my brain as well as, from the home. And then I've gone on to do things.
I think we lost Dr. Srividya. We'll give it a few minutes for her to join back.
Sorry about that. I just had a technical problem. And okay, can you make me the host again, please?
Yeah.
Thanks. Yeah, and sorry about that. Thank you everyone for staying patient. I think that speaks volumes of your patience, and that's the first thing that we really need when we're trying to resolve conflicts, to be patient with ourselves and to be patient with the people around us. So I think you must have got a little bit more time to reflect while I went in and made sure that my laptop kind of got back on charge. So here we are. Just figure out where you are. And you know, when we look in the mirror and we see ourselves, we see a certain view. But when we see it through somebody else's eyes, that's an interesting view altogether. So if you can figure out how others see, if you know anybody who is able to give you feedback, do ask. If not, just spend time with yourself and say, okay, if I want to turn everything around, how do others see me? Do they see me as somebody who's easy to provoke? Somebody, you know, who's able to handle things beautifully? How do they see me? Just figure this out for yourself, because this is going to really, really help you figure out what are the roots of conflict that we have and we can change. Because at the end of the day, let's face it, we can't change anybody or anything. Only one thing: ourselves, our thoughts, our emotions, our feelings. That's it. These are the things we can change. And when we change these, gradually we realize that people respond to us differently. The situation starts turning in a different manner. And the overall turmoil that we face in our life starts reducing. Okay, so let's look at what you usually do in a conflict that involves you. And around this time, I really felt that I've made you think alone too much. How many of you feel I've made you think alone too much? So I'm going to try and take you through a few questions. And in each of these questions, I want you to just respond as to what is right for you. For instance, here's a scenario, and I want you to notice, you're going to have a meeting, you're meeting a friend over lunch. What exactly are you going to do? This friend is late. So here is your scenario. You need to meet a friend for lunch on a working day and find that she's not responding to your calls and is late by over 20 minutes. This has happened a few times earlier too. So what do? You call her to ask what happened, and she responds saying she lost track of time. So what do? Here you are, you're meeting somebody for lunch, and you find that this person is not responding to your calls, and this person is not. Just sit down and see as to what you can do.
Can I go ahead with an answer?
You can note it down, and I want to kind of quickly put it. So you can put A, B, C, or D on the chat box. That will be great. But if you want, those of you who don't want to, you can just note it down for yourself, because I want to take you to the next one. So it'll be nice. D. A lot of us say D. Wow. We're very, very wise already. So we'll come back to this. Any of you say A or B? Anyone here? Yeah? D. Okay, great. So let's go on and let's see as to what are the other questions. Here's, of course, a friend. And then we have our workload. Let's say your workload is really high. Somebody says A. Okay. Yeah. Your workload is more than everybody else's. And how many of us really feel that this is true? Our workload is more than our friends. So let's say we're at a workplace meeting. Your colleague has not completed their work on time. As there is a project deadline, your boss has asked you to take on some of the work for a few days. This is a recurrent problem for you. So do you smile and agree as you don't want to create an issue? That's one option. You may want to do something different. You take sick leave the next day. Or you get into a heated argument with your colleague and boss. Or you help with the extra work you can do with ease and request a meeting later to share your perspective. Now, when you're answering these questions, think of what is it that you normally do. Don't think of what is ideal. Because that's important. Because if you do what is ideal, and if that's not what you're normally doing, then how is that going to help? So think of what you normally do. Yeah, are we done with that? We have A, D, C, D, first to A times, and maybe, oh, lovely. We have all the variety of responses. Lovely. It's true. Each time we may respond very differently. You're right. Okay, so that's true. Let's go on to the third one. Your team can't seem to agree. This happens all the time. There are two experts who cannot see eye to eye in the same team, leading to a wastage of time and tempers flying. Okay, and you are the team lead, the product lead, whatever, you are at the managerial level. So what do? You talk to the experts individually and try to smooth the creases. You know, they're two experts. You don't want to hurt their egos. Or you confront them in a meeting together. Or you decide, yeah, this is too difficult. I'm going to just allocate work to an expert who is more friendly and who is easy to connect with and talk to. That's what I'm going to do. Or you address them individually and then you monitor their progress. What do? Think about it. Think about real life situations. Think about situations that you may have encountered that are similar to this. Thank you, Smriti. Smriti says C or D. And then Shikha says A. Yeah. Thank you, everyone. Just keep noting these down, and just one more, because we really need to understand. Biggest source of conflict for a lot of parents is parenting pressures, by the way. And you know, this comes from our own life also. Your ward has not completed their homework and they've been hiding their test papers for long. Does this happen? The truth is, this happens. And because I coach both teens as well as parents, I get this a lot. So what do? Your teen is in bad shape, the homework is in bad shape, the test papers are in bad shape. Which of these do you take on? A, B, C, or D? Just note it down for yourself and think. Do you tell your team to stop worrying and hire a tutor? By the way, many parents I speak with do that. Yeah, I like the way Asha says, ideally D. And really what happens? Ramya says A. Yes, it's honest. Shanti says B. Thank you so much. Ritu says maybe all. Yeah, hire a tutor, scold, throw your hands up. It's the truth, right? Because how do you handle a situation that is so tenuous? You don't want to spoil things with anybody or anything. These are some typical situations. Could you all relate to these situations? Just say yes, relate, or relate. Yeah, you could? Yeah, thank you. Great. Okay, so you know, I don't know why. Normally, technology doesn't hurt me at all. But today, it's just giving me a very hard time, starting from my camera not turning on to the laptop giving trouble. So my truest apologies for this to the KelpHR team and all of you. And yeah, something big must be happening, which is why we're having so many obstacles. So here we are. You have this slide in front of you. I love this because it's easy, Even when I'm dealing with a conflict, I think, okay, what am I doing? Am I running away? So what is it that's happening in a conflict? And all the conflicts that we talked about right now, we want to achieve something. We want our child to do well, or we want the project to be done, but we don't want to be overworked. But we want to make sure that our relationships with the person that we are working with is also not hurt. So we have these, and all leadership management theories always talk of task, relationship, and there are hundreds of theories on this. But the reason why I find this easy is because it just tells you in a very sweet and very likable and non-judgmental manner, because of the sweet animals. Who are we? What is our dominant style? And by that, I mean, if you're mostly trying to do things that are task-oriented, then we are forcing our goals, our perspective. And people may find us aggressive. We may not see ourselves as aggressive. We may see ourselves as focused on getting the work done. So for those of you who did mostly A in all your questions, and this is for you, because I know a lot of you did B, C, D, some of us did a mix. But if in most situations you're trying to make sure that the person is not hurt, or that the person's feelings are not hurt, or you're taking on the teddy bear approach. And it's very useful, by the way. It's just that how much do we use it? So are you constantly the teddy bear? Ask yourself. On the other side of the spectrum is the shark. And you have this person who's constantly forcing their goals. So that manager who pulled up both the experts in front of everybody and confronted them, forcing. The parent who pulled up the child in front of the counselor and spoke to them harshly, or maybe, even firmly, because we don't even feel as parents that we are being harsh. It may hurt the esteem of the child, and it may actually backfire, forcing. And then there are some of us, and let's be very honest, nobody likes to deal with a tough conflict. So what do? We withdraw. Oh no, I can't deal with this right now. I throw my hands up in the air. This subordinate doesn't listen. That expert doesn't listen. My team doesn't listen. My helper, oh, she's like that, or he's like that. Only I'm not going to do anything about it. What happens? You don't have a relationship with that person because you've given up. The work is also not getting done. It's a complete lose-lose situation. So the thing to do, and the hard thing to do, is to try and be an out, which is the win-win, which is, let's understand your perspective. Let me share my perspective. Let's see if there are any other perspectives to share. And then in that conversation, something emerges, which is a solution. How many of you feel this kind of a model will help us? Shikha says, I'm both Teddy and Owl. What does that say about me? We'll come to that. Yeah, all of us can be more than one style, Shikha. It means that sometimes you prefer to focus on relationships, and sometimes you do a lot of the wise old owl approach of trying to do win-win. And that's good. We can't always be owls. We can't, in an emergency situation, sit and be a teddy bear. If you have to take orders and you have to get things done, you have to be the shark. And if you are really tired and you are unwell, like we had heard earlier in the discussion, you can't be dealing with the conflict. It's better to withdraw temporarily. So each of these styles is important. What you need to see is, am I being mostly a turtle? Am I being mostly a shark? Am I being all the time a teddy bear? Because I remember when you pick up only one style and you become more of that, then it means that you're avoiding conflict. You're not actually getting the work done. You're not actually building a relationship. So there's no really hard, fast, good or bad. It's who you are. In an emergency situation, we need sharks. In a very, very emotionally tense situation, we need teddy bears. If you are very tired or the situation is overwhelming, we do need to withdraw. The point is to do it with awareness and not just go on autopilot. That's the main thing. Glad you find it helpful, Shikha. Thank you so much. Yeah, I really, and for me, if we can use these metaphors with ourselves and you say, oh my God, am I being a shark? And I ask myself, am I just being too forceful? Or have I just given up on this person? And when I ask myself these questions, because they are labeled along with animals, they're just a little bit more compassionate and I don't feel so bad. So I'm just sharing what I use with all of you. So just figure out who you are. What is your natural style? Accept it. It's very important. For those of us who withdraw a lot, you may be in a situation which is very tense all the time. Find ways, skills, seek help. Because withdrawing all the time means that you're becoming somebody who's not being able to live your good life, not build relationships, not seek goals, which means that you are very, very, very sad inside. And that's not a good place to be. But if you do it temporarily, you do it for some time, I think that's very healthy. That's my understanding. That's my experience. Like I said in the very beginning, we are all individuals in very unique situations. And when we meet like this, the best I can offer is my experience peppered with some of the degrees and knowledge and the questionnaires that I'm aware of. That's what I can really do. So from here, I'm going to just pause and leave you with a few questions. So you know what is your dominant style. And you may be more than one. You may be having, and I've not done like the full questionnaire with you. It's not possible. It's like more than a half-day exercise for us to do this. But it was important for me to give you this preview. So figure out, what is your style? If you've been a teddy bear all the time, has it worked for you to be a teddy bear? And I'll share this very interesting conversation I had with this very senior leader who's a coach herself. And I found that, whenever there was any conflict, she would listen to all points of view individually. And then she would just take a decision without consulting anybody. Or she would take a decision and we would not be sure what happened. And these were critical decisions. And it would seem like she has heard and understood each and every point of view. She had. And then she had chosen something which none of us understood as to why she had taken that decision. So when we did this session together, we realized she's a lot in terms of teddy bear. And this is the drawback of being a teddy bear. When you hear each person's perspective, you soothe them. When you go to the next person, you soothe them. And you don't share anything from your end specifically, and you're not task-oriented at all. The others may feel that you don't have a stand, that you just change colors, that you only sweet talk. So that's the whole thing. How much do you use it? And is it too much? And is it diluting the task that needs to be done? And when you become a teddy bear too much, when you're always sweet talking and smooth talking, then people don't see you as genuine anymore. So that's the whole thing about being too much of anything. Even being too much of a teddy bear doesn't help really. Just see if it has worked for you. And now that we've done this exercise, we've done these two questions, just go back with this thought of, I'm going to reflect on the critical conflicts. And in those, pick up something which is moderate. Don't pick up something that's very, very difficult to deal with. Look at low-hanging fruit, because we are learning. We're learning how to manage conflict with grace. And try to see, can I change the way I approach this person, situation, trigger? What will I do differently? And am I overusing one style? And is this a style that fits all? And let's realize and accept that socializing, people, a lot of people have been told that you have to be nice, always. And it's a very deep ingrained value for women. Please, 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 everybody. And then they end up feeling very torn apart inside themselves. And that's where all the inner conflict comes, because their inner aspirations have not been met. So just reflect and see, what is your style? Has it worked for you? Are you likely to change? The last bit about what did you learn about yourself? I'd love to know. We have a few more minutes. I've stopped screen sharing and my camera still refuses to turn on. So I'm so sorry for this, but I'm here and I'm happy to answer any questions. More than giving you answers, just enter into dialogues that will help you think further. And if you can just help share what is it that was your takeaway, then that will help us all learn from each other. So the chat box is yours, the time is yours. And I must say, you're all amazing. You're all listening to me. Wow. What about the squirrel? I think that is my dominant style. Okay, so the reason why I didn't focus so much on that is that people, a squirrel is of course an animal. Basically, somewhere you take care of tasks and somewhere you take care of relationships. It's what we call the compromise approach. I think, by the way, that's a very good question and it's very relevant and I skipped it. So thank you for bringing it to my notice. So use it in situations wherein you cannot find a win-win. Use it sparingly, or wherein you feel that, okay, let's say it's a very difficult relationship issue and they can't really find a way to make it work, but they have to do a lot of give and take because there's a lot at stake. So when there's a lot at stake, we might need to do compromise. But if you compromise for too long, then remember, your relationship suffers, your task also suffers. So use it, but use it judiciously. Use it in situations when something else is not possible. A win-win is just not possible. And it's fine. None of these are prescriptions. We just need to know who we are. Okay. Does that answer your question, Shanti? Yeah?
Yes, it does. Thank you.
Thank you, Shanti. Thank you. Okay, we have Shraddha who says, what if a person shouted with you in your difficult, are you saying, what if a person shouted with you in your difficult times? Do you want to unmute and speak?
Yeah, so ideally it happens and it triggers me whenever I am in difficult situation. So the person around me shouts, and so it triggers me a lot because I feel some empathy or something like some good
Right.
words, and it
Right.
happens that it doesn't come that time only. Rest of the time it's good, it's healthy relationship, but whenever I am in difficult situation and it happens, my relatives did the same, so I messed up everything. I truly accepted it. But yeah, I want to come out. I wants to be Buddha, but with the dealing with the house and kids and jobs, everything, it doesn't help to be always Buddha. Yeah,
Right.
I really
Right.
need help when how to deal with this situation.
Right. No, I truly appreciate and understand your question. So with your permission, I'm actually just going to quickly share screen. I had a couple of more tips and I thought I had spoken for too long, but your question is taking me there. So if you're okay, let's just go there directly. And can you all see this? Yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. This is exactly what you are, huh? You're feeling like a pressure cooker. Stuff inside you, and it's called pressure cooker for that reason. The other person is also a pressure cooker. So you can't have, two pressure cookers can't be conversing with each other.
Correct. Yeah.
Right. So as I've had the opportunity to speak with you only, and then you're the angel in the room today. So I think this is going to be very useful for everybody. Pausing. If you can just remember to pause and hear the other person and realize that this person has a lot of anger and hurt inside them, which is why they're screaming. That's the first thing. It's not about you. Remember that. Very often it's not about you. They are easy to provoke if they are screaming at that point in time. And it could be anybody. This doesn't mean we love them less. Let's not be judgmental about this situation. So just take 5 deep breaths in a situation like this. Acknowledge they're saying something. And if they are shouting and if they've said something, even something, after your 5 deep breaths, it means that the pressure cooker CT has gone. Okay, you've paused. Now the pressure has released slightly. Just each time, take 5 deep breaths. I mean, if any of you, we don't have enough time, but we can do this sometime later. Just take a few deep breaths and you'll realize that your body's general visceral response reduces. And then, the reason why the other person may be easy to provoke is that they may have had a hard day. They may be feeling really lousy. They may not be feeling seen, heard. They may be feeling hurt. So if we can just say, okay, I've heard this. I understand where you're coming from. You don't have to agree, but you have to acknowledge that I heard it. And if you say it very calmly, just like when the other person screams, you also get provoked. When you take those 5 deep breaths and calmly say, the other person's anger levels will also come down. It takes pause. It takes a lot of self-compassion and a commitment that this is something I'm going to work on for myself. And when you sincerely say that, I'm also feeling hurt, or let's talk about this later. Or if you're in a place where you are not triggered, you see how they are feeling. Are they defensive? Ask them, do you want to talk? Sometimes they won't be. Sometimes it won't be the best time. Then just acknowledge that I heard you. And right now I am also feeling this way. So let's just wait. Pause. Once the pressure cookers are away, you will find. And that's what you said, right? Otherwise, we have a very happy relationship because you're not pressure cookers then. Awareness is key. Am I feeling triggered right now? Am I in a place where I can deal with this negative energy, with this anger? If I can, then I will do this. If I can't, then I'll take 5 deep breaths and withdraw for some time and then talk when I don't feel like a pressure cooker anymore. Does this help?
Yeah, I will try.
Hmm?
It needs more practice.
Is it
Yeah.
okay if I can add something here, Dr. Srividya?
Of course.
Yeah, so thank you for that. See, I don't come from any authority, but out of my experience, having heard you, the angel in the room, as Dr. Srividya said, when she says that the deep breath technique works, it reminds me of the nervous system that we generally operate from, all of us operate from. So the sympathetic and the parasympathetic things are the gears. So the breathing system truly, truly, miraculously works. So people might find this to be the number one solution given by scholars or given by learned people, people like Srividya, who come with an experience of psychology and all that. But still, let me tell you with a lot of emphasis and assertiveness that it does work, because you are prioritizing your own self by giving yourself the time to breathe and allowing your parasympathetic nerves to take charge and calm you down. That's all I wanted to offer here. Thank you so much.
Beautiful. Thank you. Thank you to all the angels in this room. It's beautiful to connect and to understand. Yeah, lovely. I think we are at 5:02. So tell me, do we have time to carry on and complete one or two more questions, or I leave it to Kelp?
I think we can take one more question.
Yeah, okay. Which one do we take, Ramya? What about in situations where you raise a genuine concern but are lashed back at? Similar, Ramya. Did this situation help, which we just did? Reflect, listen, pause. Don't react immediately. Very important. Because we don't know. We don't know what the other person is dealing with. Understand that person is not out to get after you. That person is actually dealing with conflict themselves. Okay, I love this, by the way, and this is no copyrighted stuff, so you can note it down. Rat. You feel like a rat when somebody is screaming at you. So reflect, ask yourself, and then take action. For me, the pause works beautifully. And sometimes the pause may be a few days, It's not just a few seconds. And then when you shift focus from what I want, what I feel. Okay, so what is it that you feel? And in therapy, we do these things, we do things like, okay, you are role playing this person who you have a huge conflict with. What will this person say? Now you switch back to your role. So if you can even mentally do that, then you understand the other person's lens. That's the reason why we do it. And for those of us who are leaders, or if we are in family situations wherein there's a lot of conflict, I found that circle time helps a lot. And by circle time, I mean, space wherein, just like in schools, how many of you are familiar with the notion of a circle time in schools? Have you heard of it? Anybody here?
No, I don't think so.
No? Okay. So what we do in schools, small kids do circle time nowadays in nurseries and things like that. They just sit in a circle, and then at that age, they generally chat about what they liked about an activity or what they didn't like, and everybody gets a little bit of chance to speak. In a family situation, in a team situation, we can translate the same thing. Only thing is we can customize it a little bit. You can do it every once in a while, and especially if relationships are very jarring. We say we're going to do circle time after 3 to 4 days. And we say, in these 3 to 4 days, notice at least one thing good about each person. One thing. And share it. That's all you're going to do. When we have conflict with somebody, we only see the negatives. And the negatives fuel the conflict. If we decide to pause and say, what were the positives? So if you want to, any of you want to change or improve your relationship with a person, the best advice I have seen, heard, implemented is start looking for things that they do, say, whatever which you find positive. Start hunting for that also. It's very hard to do and very effective. Because then what you're doing is you're decluttering your brain from only the negatives. the pressure of the pressure cooker is gradually going away. And you're sharing the positives. The moment you do that, the person has become less defensive. Because that person says, this person's not always out to get me. They can see that I do good things also. The moment they can see that, then they are open to a conversation. The moment they are open to a conversation, that's when you can also share one or two things that you feel hurt about, or you would like more of, or you found difficult. And allow that person also to share. Note it down. Reflect on it. You don't need to act. Action will be genuine only if you see truth in it. And rules apply. You don't interfere with each other. Each person thinks through and just gets a minute or two. This is not a long drawn fight, or maybe 5 minutes, but you finish this in 15 minutes flat. And then you get on with the rest of the day. Do this week after week and see the air clear up. Okay, there's silence in the room.
No, ma'am, we can hear you. That was a great explanation and a great answer to the question that was there on the floor. And I think we are at 5 or 7, and we can take any more questions at this moment. But I would encourage all the people in the audience to direct all of our questions to KelpHR. We will try to get them all to Dr. Srividya and get back to you about them. And if you need any kind of information about how you can get in touch with her, we would also be happy to help you get in touch with her as well. And Dr. Srividya, I would like to thank you today to create such a safe space for everyone to actually open up and come out with such beautiful insights as well as questions. And I think this has been a really wonderful session, and one of the first steps, I think, for many over here, where we navigate conflict with grace. And it has been truly a joy to attend this today as well.
Thank you so much, Shruti. Thank you so much, Smita. Thank you so much to the entire KelpHR team, to all the people here who spoke, who shared, who wrote down, who reflected, who listened in silence. I'm so grateful to you for being here. And I really, really wish you happiness and smiles. Thank you so much. Look forward to more engagements. Thank you. Namaste.
Thank you, everyone, for attending today's session. We look forward to seeing you in the next one. Thank you all.